Now, you won four cups with the Islanders before giving way to another dynasty in the Edmonton Oilers. No one has won four straight since then. Do you think that'll ever happen again in the NHL?
John, I think it's going to be tough with free agency and the salary cap. It's tough to keep, 10, 12, 14 guys, your core group together and the finances. And, there's just an opportunity for more player movement now. It's a challenge. You see it at Tampa Bay. You see it in Detroit. You saw, some teams that were like really good for a long period of time, had some great players. And to be able to put 19 series in a row, over 5 years, it's going to be tough. You got to overcome the bad bounce. You got to stay healthy. Besides that, I think there's just a lot of parity. And I think teams they all want to win that Stanley Cup. It's a tough trophy to win, but it's one of the greatest feats that you can ever experience. And it's hard to explain, but the adrenaline and that sense of accomplishment is just beyond words.
Now, you won two more cups in Pittsburgh. What was it like? What was that feeling like winning those cups later on in the playing career?
Well, it was 8 years between winning my last cup in New York and the first cup in Pittsburgh. And it was a new identity for me, but I was on a mission to win one with Mario, and we accomplished it. I signed a 1-year contract. So there's like maybe a few people had figured, and I was reading a lot of stuff that, my Brian's over the hill, or, Trottier's best years are behind him. I just felt I had a little hockey in me. And, Craig Patrick took, I think there was a lot of, I called a lot of teams, and response was really positive. Like Bruce McNall in LA, I figured, go give Gretzky a hand. And, my buddy Jimmy Devellano was GM in Toronto. Detroit, I thought I'd give Yzerman a little bit of help. And I called Toronto. I always wanted to be Maple Leaf. So I called Toronto. They're going through all kinds of GM and coaching situation, and they had a really young team. They had Wendell Clark was young on the team, and I thought, I'll always want to be Maple Leaf. And then I called a few more teams. Everybody responded pretty positively, thinking, yeah, you got some winning experience, bring it to the team. And Craig Patrick was fantastic. And talking to Craig, and he said, why do you want to come to Pittsburgh? I said, I want to win a Stanley Cup with Mario Lemieux. He goes, I'll have a contract here in 15 minutes. So it was really kind of fun to be able to let that happen, and so make it happen, and did. And so I kind of felt like, man, that was wonderful. So, winning in Pittsburgh and parting with the city of Pittsburgh, and creating another bond with a great group of guys, a lot of Hall of Famers, was fantastic.
Interesting you mentioned Detroit, because I believe Steve Yzerman wore the number 19 in honor of you. So it would have been interesting to see who would have come out on top with that number 19. I'd like to think
that was fun.
Given up
Yeah.
to you, but yeah. You won your last cup as a member of the Avalanche coaching staff. Was that a different kind of feeling than winning as a player?
Absolutely. Like, I didn't sweat. I didn't bleed. I didn't come out bruised and beaten. I didn't throw any body checks. Didn't score any goals. No assists. But you're prepared the players, and as a coach, you're encouraging. You're constantly tweaking, and players are responding. And at the end, they're thanking you, and you're thanking them, because they're the ones in battle, and you're just standing and cheering them on with all your might. And when you accomplish that feat, the appreciation factor as the coach for the players, and the players back to the coach, Joe Sakic thanking you, and Ray Bork and Patrick Waugh, the young kids, Hayduke, Drury, everybody, Adam Foote. We had a great team, Robbie Blake, and to be able to appreciate, and know, I knew how hard it is to win as a player, and I knew that the price they paid, and the appreciation factor was so high. When I got to raise that cup, wearing a suit and tie, I tell you, my appreciation was over the top. And you think Ray Bork was crying? Boy, I was crying too. And I was looking for my family. I couldn't wait to call home and share the experience all over again, because it's just a special, special feeling.
Well, you called the book All Roads Home. How important is home and family to you?
Well, when we were looking for a title, I think everything I did in my life, was all about my roots. It's all about where I come from. And that little town of Val Marie, South Saskatchewan, it's Canada's. When I first heard that hockey was Canada's gift to the world, I was so happy. And you never forget your roots. And All Roads Home is, when I was in New York, Pittsburgh, Denver, Didn't matter where I lived. I couldn't wait to call home. Couldn't wait to get back home. Always had that homesick feeling, and and I like that. I like that feeling, all roads home, because it's where I come from. It's what I represent and who I am to a great degree. Grasslands country of Saskatchewan, and it's a great tribute to my mom and dad and where I come from, and I'm very proud of all of that and my heritage, and so I thought it was a very appropriate name.
And what do you hope people take away from the book?
You know what? I think just the wonderful experiences I had, and to share those experiences, and to enjoy the stories, and I think there's just an opportunity to say thank you to a lot of guys, mentors, Earl Ingerfield, and my coaches, Stan Dunn, and when growing up, and all my buddies back home. But I think it reflects. I think a lot of people will relate. I think there's, because hockey is a big part of our Canadian fabric. But I think you can relate to small town. You can relate to the family. You can relate to music. You can relate to homesick. You can relate to being shy. You know, wanting to win the Stanley Cup. That big desire. All of us would. Man, what a feeling to be able to raise a Stanley Cup over your head. And I try to describe it in detail. And the moments of meeting greats like Stan Mikita and Bobby Hull and Gordie Howe and Jean Beliveau for the first time. It's like a small town kid's dream come true. And what kid in Canada, whether you're from small town or big city, wouldn't like, for this kind of thing to happen to them? And a little bit of magic, and it did for me. But a lot of determination, the hard work too. But that just reflects on mom and dad, and I think Canada in general.
The name of the book is All Roads Home, A Life on and Off the Ice. My thanks to author Bryan Trottier.